Welcome to today's presentation, 5 Steps to Completely Eliminate Insomnia Forever. To get the most out of the presentation, close all of your other tabs and everything that might be open that might distract you. And I have some great stuff to go over with you today, so we're just going to jump right in. So who this is for? This presentation is for anyone with insomnia, anyone struggling to fall or stay asleep, anyone worrying, anxious, or stressed about their sleep, taking medication for sleep, that could include over-the-counter or prescription, feeling unrested, exhausted, fatigued, or in a low mood during the day. If you want to eliminate insomnia forever, fall asleep faster, sleep deeper, and wake up rested and with energy, then this presentation is for you. So here's what we're going to cover today: how to overcome insomnia permanently without medication, supplements, or any external remedies. How to get deep, healthy, quality sleep consistently over time, even if your sleep is currently restless, stress-filled, and unpredictable. How to fall asleep faster, sleep deeper, and wake up rested and restored no matter how long you've struggled with sleep. How to eliminate anxiety, worry, and stress about your sleep and build absolute confidence that you can and will sleep well each and every night. How to shift from being wired and awake in bed to being relaxed and drowsy, even if this seems impossible right now. How to eliminate tiredness, fatigue, exhaustion, and a foggy brain during the day, no matter how long you've felt this way. How to feel like yourself again, improve your mood, and function at a higher level in your work and life, even if you believe you've lost that ability. And how to safely wean off medication and supplements or any of these external remedies if you're taking them, and learn powerful science-based techniques that will transform your sleep. My promise to you today is that I'm going to give you a step-by-step strategy for eliminating insomnia forever. But before we get into all the good stuff, let me check in with you really quickly and just see where you're at. Does this sound like you? Do you secretly dread going to bed afraid that it's going to be another night filled with stress, anxiety, frustration, and a battle for sleep? Do you lie in bed at night awake, wired or alert, tossing and turning, while everyone else around you is sound asleep? Have you tried sleeping pills, over-the-counter medications, supplements, herbal remedies, CBD oil, or other substances, and found they just haven't helped much or at all and cause unpleasant side effects? Do you worry about the long-term effects of insomnia and poor sleep on your health, happiness, sanity, and overall well-being? Do you worry that if you don't get a good night's sleep, you won't be able to function the next day, perform well in your job, or be a good parent? Do you fear that you've lost the ability to sleep or sleep well, and that something's terribly wrong with your body and maybe it's unfixable? Have you tried the common professional advice to practice sleep hygiene, exercise, meditate, eliminate caffeine and alcohol, and avoid naps, but it hasn't made a dent in your sleep problem? And finally, does it feel like you've tried everything to improve your sleep, and you're worried, discouraged, and hopeless that you'll ever be able to sleep normal again? If any of that sounds like you, then I have good news. None of those things are the real problem. Those are just the symptoms. The real problem is that you haven't made what I call the shifts. And once you make these shifts, you'll be able to fall asleep effortlessly, sleep deeply, and wake up feeling rested and rejuvenated each and every day. Your anxiety, worry, fear, and frustration about your sleep will disappear, and you'll feel calm and confident about your ability to sleep and sleep well every night for the rest of your life. Your focus, sharpness, energy, and your vitality will return during the day so you can function at the highest level in your work and in your life. You're going to feel like yourself again and be fully present with the people and activities you most enjoy and care about. Your energy, health, and your happiness and your zest for life will quickly return, and you won't need medication, supplements, drugs, or any substance ever again to sleep and to sleep well, and you'll be able to sleep naturally and healthily for the rest of your life. Now, before we go too much further, let me take 2 seconds and introduce myself so you know who I am and why the heck you should listen to me. My name is Dr. Steve Orma. I'm a clinical psychologist with over 22 years of experience in health and wellness. I specialize in helping clients all over the world overcome insomnia, poor sleep, and anxiety, and have conquered insomnia myself. I'm a consultant and contributor to the Calm app featured in their sleep stories on the topic of sleep science. I'm known and widely quoted in the national media as an expert in insomnia and anxiety, including Reader's Digest, Shape, Women's Health, and more. And my mission, my personal and professional mission, is to help as many people as possible overcome insomnia, attain healthy quality sleep, and improve their overall health and well-being. So let me take a second here and tell you about how I discovered the 5 shifts. In 2013, I developed insomnia. I was averaging around 4 to 5 hours of sleep per night. Some nights I didn't sleep at all. And then I'd have to get up the next day and see 10 clients. And this went on for months. And if you're experiencing insomnia, you know how horrible and miserable this is. And here's the crazy thing. Psychologists, therapists, and medical doctors receive very little, if any, training in sleep or insomnia. And this is why when you go to your doctor, or if you've gone to your doctor and you tell them you're having trouble sleeping, all they usually will do is prescribe a medication or a sleeping pill, because they don't understand insomnia, and they've also been trained to just throw pills at a problem. And therapists, if you go to a therapist or a psychologist, they're just going to tell you to practice what's called sleep hygiene, which also doesn't work. So I had to learn on my own when I developed insomnia how to beat it. And I started researching how to overcome insomnia. You know, what are the best methods out there? And I studied these methods that were being used by the best sleep centers around the world. And then I applied that to my own sleep. And this was extremely challenging to do on my own. But in 8 weeks, I completely eliminated my insomnia without ever taking a sleeping pill or a supplement. And since then, I've been able to maintain healthy, quality sleep. Now, because I also specialize in anxiety, I was already seeing a lot of clients who were also dealing with insomnia. So I started helping them using the same science-based methods that I had used, while I continued to refine and improve the process over time, making it stronger, making it more effective. And as I helped more and more of my clients eliminate insomnia, I noticed some key things. I noticed there were 5 key things that led to their success. And also that the clients that did these 5 things were successful and they overcame their insomnia, and they did it fairly quickly. And the clients that didn't apply these 5 things continued to struggle, continued to have the insomnia. So the bottom line is this. There are 5 key shifts you must make to overcome insomnia and establish a normal, healthy, consistent pattern of quality sleep for the rest of your life. And I'm going to walk you through all 5 of them on this session starting now. So let's dive in. Shift number 1 is to understand the real cause. So conventional wisdom and most doctors and therapists and Googling this will tell you that insomnia is caused by these things: anxiety, stress, depression, maybe PTSD or a trauma you experienced, a medical condition, too much caffeine, too much alcohol, having a heavy meal before you go to sleep, or a stressful life event like a changing of a job or getting a divorce. So this conventional wisdom says that these things directly lead to insomnia. But the truth is that none of these actually cause insomnia. And so if you don't know the correct cause, the real cause of insomnia, then there's no way you can have the correct solution. Now, what does cause insomnia is it does start with a trigger. And the trigger is the thing that initially creates poor sleep. And so, yes, it can include a lot of those things that I mentioned: anxiety, stress, depression, some other kind of mental health problem like PTSD. You could have a medical condition like back pain. Too much caffeine and alcohol can definitely interfere with sleep. So all these things, stressful life events, and even a normal poor night or nights of sleep, which happens to everybody. But those things don't cause insomnia. What happens is these things lead to this cycle over here. They first lead to poor sleep. Poor sleep is just one or a few nights of difficulty sleeping, which is normal and happens to everybody. It's not insomnia yet. And at that point, there's no problem. And once the stress, the initial trigger here gets taken care of, the poor sleep goes away and you get and your sleep goes back to normal. But what actually creates insomnia is when someone experiences that initial poor sleep, they start having negative thoughts in response. These are called negative sleep thoughts, or NSTs. And those create anxiety and worry and stress and frustration around your sleep. Sometimes it's called sleep anxiety or sleep worry. And then that leads you to wanting to do something about it because you're worried. You're thinking, oh my God, what's going on? There's something wrong with my sleep. I better do something about this. And then the things that you do, or that most people do, actually ends up messing up their sleep even more and making it worse. And of course, you're doing this unknowingly. You're doing it to try to help your sleep, but it's hurting your sleep. These are called negative sleep behaviors, or NSBs. We'll talk about those in more detail later. But then over time, if you keep changing those behaviors around your sleep, it's going to lead to more poor sleep, which is going to lead to more negative sleep thoughts, anxiety, frustration, hopelessness, which is going to lead to you engaging in more negative sleep behaviors. And then over time, this cycle just continues until it doesn't stop, and it just keeps spinning around, feeding on itself. And this is called the insomnia cycle. And once you're in this cycle, even once the initial trigger, the initial problem that caused the poor sleep, even once that's resolved and it's not there anymore, the insomnia over here will continue because now it is its own problem. Now it has shifted your entire physiology and sleep system, and it's now a separate problem that has to be addressed at the root. So insomnia is caused by negative sleep thoughts in response to the poor sleep, and negative sleep behaviors in response to the poor sleep and the negative sleep thoughts and the worry that you better do something to improve your sleep, which then causes more problems with the sleep. So to eliminate insomnia, you need to completely change your negative sleep thoughts and your negative sleep behaviors. Those are the root of the problem. So let's first address in this shift the negative sleep thoughts. We're going to cover the negative sleep behaviors a little later. So what are negative sleep thoughts? Things like, I'm dreading bedtime. I must get 8 hours of sleep. I won't be able to function tomorrow if I don't sleep well tonight. I only slept 4 hours last night, so I won't be able to function or do well in my job or be a good parent today. I've lost my ability to sleep. I had a bad night of sleep and I'm going to feel like crap today. Okay, these are common negative sleep thoughts or worries around sleep that get developed. And these are a normal part of insomnia. Everyone that has insomnia has these negative sleep thoughts, worries, anxiety around their sleep. And the thing is, this is the tricky thing. They may seem like normal responses to insomnia, but they make insomnia worse. So they seem normal because when you have insomnia, you are in fact not sleeping well. You're having, bad nights of sleep. You don't feel good the next day. It is a problem that you're having that you can't be able to solve. And so it makes sense. It seems to make sense to think negative things about it. But this is the cycle that creates. The negative sleep thoughts lead to anxiety, fear, frustration, stress. All of these emotions are very stimulating, and they wake you up. So if you're having these before you go to bed, or you're having them in bed when you're struggling to sleep, they stimulate you, that they wake you up. They have the opposite of effect that you want, and then that causes trouble sleeping. And then that puts you right into that cycle, because now then you have more worry because your sleep is not getting better and it's getting worse. So we need to address this right at the root, which starts here, the negative sleep thoughts. If you don't change your negative sleep thoughts, then the cycle just continues and will likely get worse over time. So how do you change negative sleep thoughts? Well, to shift your beliefs around your sleep, around the insomnia, you need to recognize, challenge, and replace negative sleep thoughts with more accurate, adaptive, positive sleep thoughts called PSTs. And there's a particular way we do this. This is not like doing positive affirmations, which don't work. It's about shifting it to positive beliefs that are 100% true, that resonate with you, and that shift from the negative to the more positive. What creates negative sleep thoughts are the many myths and false beliefs that people hold about sleep and insomnia that are all over the internet, that you'll get from your doctor and from therapists, unfortunately. And then those things lead to the anxiety, the frustration, the fear, and the hopelessness. So to undo those, to shift those, you need to understand the facts about sleep and insomnia. And these facts are based on and have to be based on extensive scientific research on sleep and insomnia. And that is like the leverage that helps you start to shift the beliefs to be more positive. Once you understand the facts about sleep, the key facts, not everything, you don't have to be a sleep expert, but the key facts about sleep and insomnia, and those myths are busted, then you're going to be able to start shifting those negative sleep thoughts to positive sleep thoughts. And that's obviously going to change everything else. So when you change the negative sleep thoughts here that are causing the anxiety, the fear, the frustration, the stress, and you start changing them to PSTs, positive sleep thoughts, you're going to start feeling more calmness, confidence, certainty with your sleep. That's going to decrease the stimulation and the wakefulness you're feeling when you're trying to go to sleep or stay asleep. And that's going to lead to better sleep. So it creates this positive feedback loop of better sleep. So let me go over my first case study here, which is with my client, Alexis. So Alexis came to me with acute insomnia. Acute insomnia means it's just shorter term. It means it's less than 3 months. Greater than 3 months is chronic insomnia. So she came to me with this insomnia and she was overwhelmed with anxiety and worry and negative sleep thoughts, like I'm overtired and I can't fall asleep. I've been awake trying to sleep and I'm still not sleeping. I'm never going to sleep again. I'll always struggle with insomnia. Maybe you've had one or more of these negative sleep thoughts yourself. Now, it was taking her 4 to 6 hours to fall asleep each night. And she was also a full-time mom with 2 young kids. So that was adding to the challenge. She was frustrated. She was desperate. Nothing she was trying seemed to be working. And she said it's become its own monster. In 7 weeks, working together, addressing the negative sleep thoughts, the anxiety, the worry, we eliminated her insomnia. She was able to fall asleep within 15 minutes, and her worry, her NSTs, and sleep anxiety disappeared. And at the end, she was sleeping 7+ hours per night. So that is the power of shifting the negative sleep thoughts, which is one of the key core things that cause insomnia. Let's go to shift number 2. You don't need anything external. So I want to first note here that I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a psychologist, so I can't provide medical advice, medication advice. If you're currently taking medication for sleep, whether over the counter or prescription, I strongly advise to consult with your prescribing physician first before you make any changes to your medication. This is not any kind of medical or medication recommendation. So always make sure you do that. It's very important. That being said, if you're taking sleeping pills or another medication or an over-the-counter sleep remedy for insomnia, not only will it not eliminate the insomnia, it can actually make it worse. Millions of adults in the United States alone take prescription sleep meds. This doesn't include people from other parts of the world, Canada, Europe, Africa, Asia, millions and millions in those countries as well, taking prescription sleep meds. Okay, that doesn't even include the millions more that take over-the-counter remedies like Benadryl or ZQuil and other medications for sleep, which we'll talk about in a minute. $41 billion a year is spent on sleep aids. $41 billion. So I just want you to take that in. Okay, now these are the common different medications and remedies that are used for sleep. So first of all, you have your sleep medications. These are Ambien, Lunesta, Sonata. These are medications specifically designed, specifically developed for sleep. However, a lot of other medications are prescribed for sleep that were not developed for sleep, but for other things. So you have benzodiazepines. These are anti-anxiety medications, Xanax, Ativan, Klonopin, Restoril, antidepressants like trazodone, amitriptyline. Anticonvulsant medicines are used for sleep like gabapentin, and atypical antipsychotics like Seroquel. These are very commonly, probably even more commonly prescribed than the sleep meds. But these medications were never tested and studied and developed for sleep. They were developed for other things. The reason why they're prescribed so frequently is they have a sedative effect. Essentially, they knock you out. Then there's all the over-the-counter remedies like Benadryl, ZQuil, Unisom, etc. And then many people also take supplements like melatonin, valerian root, magnesium, 5-HTP. I mean, there's just a bunch of them, but these are the common ones that people take. Okay, but here is the thing. With all these sleeping pills, all these medications, all the over-the-counter sleep aids and supplements, according to the National Institutes of Health, about 40 million Americans alone suffer from chronic insomnia. 40 million. That's 1 in 10. And that's chronic insomnia, which is long-term, insomnia that's been going on for months or years. And this does not include people from other parts of the world, Europe, Asia, Africa, South America, that are also dealing with insomnia. If medication and supplements and these external remedies worked for insomnia and sleep problems, why are so many millions of people still struggling with them? That's a really important question. The answer is sleeping pills and other medications and supplements do not treat insomnia. They only treat its symptoms. Let me repeat that. It's very important. Sleeping pills and other medications don't treat insomnia. They only treat its symptoms. They do not get to those core root problems of the negative sleep thoughts and negative sleep behaviors. Taking a medication cannot change the way you think and doesn't change the way you behave around your sleep. It just addresses the fact that you're having difficulty falling or staying asleep. So they essentially just knock you out. They also have many other negatives to them. They interfere with your normal sleep cycle. They block, for example, your REM, which is your dream sleep, and your deep sleep. These are like the two most important stages for restoration when you sleep. When you take a medication, those are blocked, which is why you could sleep several hours on a medication and wake up and still feel out of it, unrested, foggy head, groggy, because you're not getting normal, healthy, full cycles of sleep. You can become physically dependent on them. Okay, most people are aware of this negative, right? You can, what this means is that you need more and more and more of that medication over time to get the same effect on the sleep, because you build up what's called tolerance to it, and eventually the medication isn't doing anything other than you're getting the side effects of the medication. And when you try to come off it, you can have withdrawal symptoms. You can also become psychologically dependent on them, and this includes supplements as well. Now, this is less talked about, but what this means is you develop a belief that you need the pill, the medication, the supplement to be able to sleep or to be able to sleep well, and that if you don't, you're kind of screwed, like your sleep's going to be a disaster. So you develop a belief that you don't have the ability within you to sleep, that you need this external thing to help you sleep or to get you to sleep, and that actually will increase your anxiety and and create doubt, even more doubt around your ability to sleep. They also have many unpleasant side effects: foggy brain, headache, weakness, dizziness, many, many more. They undermine self-management. What that means is because you're putting your sleep and your insomnia into the hands of a pill, which is external to you, then you try less hard, you focus less on the things that you can do to improve your sleep, and then that just perpetuates the cycle. And then they also, taking medications can create feelings of helplessness, guilt, hopelessness, desperation, and lowered self-esteem. Now, this is important, right? The reason I'm going through this is not to make you feel bad. I don't want you to feel bad or feel guilty that you're taking medication, and I don't blame you for that. And the reason for that is this is what doctors prescribe. This is what's recommended by virtually everyone for insomnia. And doctors prescribe it very quickly. And also people just don't know there are better alternatives to this. And so no one really wants to take medication, but they do because they're not sleeping well. Okay. But they can just perpetuate these feelings here because you don't feel good about taking it. It makes you feel like you don't have control over your sleep, or that there's something wrong with you, that you have to take the medication. And the fact is, none of those things are true. So this is what happens when people try to come off medication. As I said, no one wants to be on medication, right? But you're doing it because you think at least it's going to help, or maybe it's going to get rid of the insomnia. So this is what happens is you try to come off the medication, and what happens usually is your sleep gets worse because, again, the medication wasn't addressing the root cause. It was just addressing the symptoms of the difficulty falling or staying asleep. So as soon as you remove the medication, it's kind of like if you're anxious and you drink a glass of wine, it calms you down, right? It gets rid of the anxiety, but as soon as the wine wears off, the anxiety comes right back, and many times it comes back stronger. And this can also happen with your sleep, is when you try to come off the medication, your sleep and your insomnia can get worse. It's called rebound insomnia. And it's because you're removing that drug that was there, and then your sleep gets worse. And what that, of course, does is makes your anxiety shoot up, because, I mean, your sleep's getting worse, not better, coming off the medication. And then you think, oh my God, you're like, at least the medication was doing something. So then that makes you go back on the medication, or you switch to another medication. And that keeps you in what I call the medication cycle, which is really hard to break out of. So instead, what you need to do, the key to coming off medication or supplements or both, is as you're coming off the medication, you need to replace it with something. And you need to replace it with science-based techniques and methods that target the core problems, the negative sleep thoughts and the negative sleep behaviors, which I'm covering today in these 5 shifts. If you don't replace it, then you're just removing something that wasn't really effective, but the insomnia then just comes back. So as you're decreasing the medication, and you're doing that safely, and you're doing it in consult with the prescribing physician, and I help my clients do this and guide that process, but as that's coming down, you're replacing it with science-based methods called healthy sleep behaviors and positive sleep thoughts, which totally transform, right? So you're replacing it with these things, and these things then will reset and restore your sleep system without the medication. In fact, you will start sleeping better and better as you remove the medication, because you're actually addressing the root cause at the same time by shifting those things that are actually creating the insomnia. So my client Dwayne, he came to me with chronic insomnia. That's insomnia that's lasted longer than 3 months. And he was averaging about 6 hours of sleep a night for several months. I mean, that might seem like a lot to some of you. Some people are getting, maybe 3-4 hours, sometimes even 2 hours a night, but 6 hours is still, not optimal. And on top of it, the insomnia was triggered by his Hashimoto's disease, which is an autoimmune disease that can mess with your thyroid. And he had this hyperthyroid and this hyperfeeling at night, and that was making it really difficult to sleep. So that was sort of the trigger. And then to combat it, he was taking all kinds of remedies. He was taking Benadryl, NyQuil, edibles, marijuana edibles, alcohol, and Xanax for sleep. So he was taking like a cocktail of, over-the-counter prescription and other types of remedies to sleep. And he was, taking different ones on different nights, because that was the only thing that was knocking him out. Okay, so we worked together, and within 12 weeks, we had safely tapered him off all of the medications, all of the drugs and the alcohol, as he was also learning and applying powerful techniques for resetting his sleep system. That's the science-based techniques we were replacing the medication with. We also eliminated his physical and psychological dependence on the substances. So you didn't want to take them anymore at all. He completely overcame the insomnia. And at the end, he was averaging 7.5 to 8 hours of healthy quality sleep per night. He did a video testimonial for me. And in that, he said, I stuck to the practices. I didn't break. And finally, the insomnia just sort of cures itself, which is kind of what happens when you're doing the right things. Then I found myself getting 7 or 8 hours of sleep a night, really consistently, without even trying. So this is the power when you're trying to come off the medication, that you are replacing it with something that's addressing those root issues instead of just eliminating the medication. So shift number 3 is to use the secret weapon. So the old way of overcoming insomnia is to try one or more of these things. So we already talked about medication and sleeping pills and supplements, but there's also this thing called sleep hygiene that you'll find all over the internet if you Google. This is what many therapists will recommend doing. And that includes things like meditation, relaxation, exercise, or doing yoga, reducing or eliminating your caffeine, eliminating alcohol, getting sunlight exposure, not taking naps, not eating or drinking before bed, making your sleep environment comfortable, having a bedtime routine, taking a hot or cold bath or shower before bed, journaling, using gadgets like a sound machine or eye mask or blackout shades, and then eating certain foods that are supposedly going to make you tired, like bananas or milk. You've probably tried one or more of these things if you've had insomnia for any period of time, because these are the things that everybody virtually recommends everywhere. The problem is none of these things will get rid of insomnia. None of them will. They will only make it worse. They will only make it worse. Why will they make it worse? Because they don't work. You just get more anxious. You get more frustrated. You get more hopeless and uncertain because you're trying all these remedies. You're trying all these things that doctors are recommending, therapists are recommending. When you go to websites like WebMD on the internet, and you think, well, these are all the things they're recommending and they're not working. There must be something wrong with me. And that just makes you more anxious and frustrated. And that then just worsens and perpetuates that insomnia cycle. So does this make sense? If you think about it, you try all of these things. You're eating these different foods. You're getting rid of coffee, alcohol. You're wearing blackout shades. You're taking medication, yoga, all these things that everyone's recommending. And you still have insomnia. Plus, you have more anxiety, frustration, uncertainty, and hopelessness. Does this make any sense? Of course not. So the new way of doing this, of overcoming the insomnia, is to make your bed a cue for sleep. Make your bed a cue for sleep. So let's talk about what that means. Right now, your bed and your bedroom are associated with sleeplessness, anxiety, frustration, and fear. Your bed basically has become an enemy of sleep instead of an ally. I mean, I have clients that have said literally every night when I go to bed, it feels like I'm going into battle. Maybe you've experienced that yourself. So even if you feel exhausted and you haven't slept well in days, weeks, or months, maybe even years for some people, the moment you get into bed, you suddenly become alert and awake or have that wired feeling and you can't sleep. So what the heck is going on there? The reason is you've spent so many hours and nights tossing and turning in your bed, getting frustrated, getting anxious, that your sleep environment, that's like your bed and your bedroom, has become a cue for wakefulness and arousal. A cue means it's like a trigger or a stimulus that's associated with that thing. So an example of how this works, and this works in every area of our life, is if you go into your kitchen, you're generally going to be thinking instantly about food. You might get hungry. You might be thinking about eating. Why? Because that's what you do in the kitchen. That's what you've done 1,000 times over the course of your life. So those two things are associated, and the kitchen now is a cue for all those things. For many people, if you go to a movie theater, the smell of that like buttered popcorn cooking has become associated with a movie theater because you've experienced that so many times, it gets associated in your brain. Well, the same thing happens with insomnia. Your brain associates not sleeping, being awake, being anxious with the bed, because if you've spent many hours and many days or weeks in the bed in that state, it confuses your brain, and now the bed becomes a trigger or a cue for wakefulness. So this is the way it works, is that good sleepers, normal sleepers, the bed is a strong cue for sleep, right? Maybe your partner is one of these. Maybe you know someone. Maybe you used to be someone like that, where you got into bed and instead of getting more alert and awake, you just got sleepy and you fell asleep, right? It knocked you out, basically. Poor sleepers or people with insomnia, the bed has become a strong cue for wakefulness. And that's one major thing that keeps insomnia in place. So we need to reverse this pattern by making the bed a cue for sleep, for drowsiness. So when your head hits the pillow, you quickly fall into a deep and satisfying slumber instead of waking up. So that is the secret weapon, is making your bed a cue for sleep, because that's going to completely shift the way that your body responds to getting into the bed from where it is now. Now, how do you do this? The way to do it is you need to create structure for your sleep. You need structure for your sleep. Right now, you have no structure. Your sleep's all over the place. That's because you're engaging in one or more negative sleep behaviors, or NSBs, which I mentioned earlier. So what are those? Negative sleep behaviors include things like sleeping in, right? You had a really bad night of sleep and you have the ability to sleep in, so you sleep in for a couple extra hours. Or it might mean going to bed earlier to get like a little extra sleep that night. You've also been spending too much time in bed awake, and not just awake, but anxious, frustrated, ruminating, racing mind, tossing and turning. You spent too much time in bed doing that, and that's become associated with the bed now. You might also have taken sleeping pills or supplements or other substances. Not everybody does that, but that's another negative sleep behavior that makes things worse. Or you might be really trying hard to sleep, putting a lot of effort into sleep, and that actually is a problem, which we'll talk about in another shift. So all of these things lead to insomnia, even though you're doing these things to help your sleep, right? Because you're worried about your sleep, you're not sleeping well, so you're trying to, do something. These things will not help. They will only hurt your sleep. NSBs, negative sleep behaviors, are what cause and maintain insomnia. They disrupt your normal sleep pattern, they throw it off track, and they turn your bed into a cue for wakefulness. So this is a good metaphor to understand how this works. You have normal, healthy sleep whenever you had that in your life. If you've ever had that, some people never have had really good, normal, healthy sleep, but many people have. And then what insomnia is your sleep gets off track. Instead of going down this path of a regular, strong pattern, it gets thrown off track by the things that I talked about, the negative sleep behaviors, negative sleep thoughts, and that cycle. And that throws your sleep onto a different track, a different cycle, a different pattern of insomnia. And so what we're basically trying to do here is get it from this track back onto this track. That is what the techniques and the shifts do. So to create a consistent and healthy structure for your sleep, you need to change 4 key sleep behaviors. Number 1, when you go to bed at night, what time you go to bed, how long you spend in the bed. That's very important. When you wake up in the morning and get out of bed, and what you do if you're not sleeping. So you're going to sleep, but you're not sleeping. You're having trouble falling asleep, or you wake up and you're having trouble going back to sleep. What you do is really key to creating the right structure. So these are the 4 key sleep behaviors that have to be put into a structure, a framework. And the thing is this structure, and this is critical, this structure has to be personalized to your specific sleep pattern, your specific insomnia, sleep system, and negative sleep behaviors, because these are all different for everybody. The core causes of insomnia are the same for everybody, the root causes, but what kind of insomnia you're experiencing, whether you're having trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, or both, on what nights, and all the different variations, and your sleep system, everybody's sleep system is a little different. All of these different things will determine the specific structure you put around your sleep to get rid of the insomnia. So everyone requires a different sleep structure to overcome their insomnia and get healthy quality sleep back. So one of the first things I do with my clients is to help them determine their individual sleep structure. Then, as their sleep improves, we adjust their sleep structure every week until the insomnia is gone. So it's very targeted and it's very personalized, and that is really, really important to be able to overcome the insomnia. Once you create a healthy sleep structure, once the structure is in place and it's applied consistently and you adjust it weekly, your bed will start to become a stronger and stronger cue for sleep, and it will eventually break your insomnia, meaning it'll break that cycle, break you off that track, and put you back onto a healthy pattern of consistent quality sleep. So my client, Anne, came to me. She was a law student in her late 20s with chronic maintenance insomnia. Maintenance insomnia is a type of insomnia where you have difficulty staying asleep. She was averaging 4 hours of sleep per night. She was engaging in several negative sleep behaviors. She was sleeping in, she was staying in bed too long awake, and of course doing these things to try to help her sleep, but that just made it worse. And she tried all different kinds of things. She tried relaxation and yoga and therapy, no caffeine or alcohol, taking supplements and sleeping pills, and none of this stuff was working. And she even had to place her legal studies on hold because she was just too tired and she just couldn't function. So basically it was putting her entire life and future on hold. That's what insomnia can do to your life. So we worked together and we created that sleep structure around her sleep. And 12 weeks later, she had completely eliminated her insomnia. And she was able to sleep through the night, wasn't waking up. And if she did wake up, she was able to get back to sleep, very quickly, which is normal. And she was getting 7.5 to 8 hours of deep, restful sleep every night. And not only that, she had the tools at the end to maintain healthy sleep, because what's cool is once you learn these 5 shifts and you learn these tools, then you can maintain healthy sleep for life and never get insomnia again. And this allowed her to then return to her law studies, and she was able to function at a high level and basically move on with her life and pursue her goals. So, she wrote to me after to give me an update of how things were, when she ended the program. And she said a lot of things, but one key thing she said is, "I'm so thankful to have my normal sleep pattern back. I feel a lot more rested during the day. My mood changed significantly. And the most important thing for me is that I feel that I have full control over my sleep again." And she has control in quotes here because, and we'll talk about this later, there's a certain way that you control your sleep by not directly trying to control it. Thanks again for your great support and help. I'm really, really thankful for all the changes the treatment brought for me. So creating that structure for her was one of the main keys to break that insomnia and get her back to a normal, healthy pattern of sleep. So at this point, we know that we must understand the real cause of insomnia, that you don't need anything external, and that you need to use the secret weapon, which is making your bed a cue for sleep in order to eliminate insomnia. So now let's look at how to get effortless and automatic sleep. So shift number 4 is to remove effort from sleep. One of the main causes of insomnia and what keeps it in place is trying to sleep. It's the belief that if I just try harder, if I just try another 5 or 10 minutes, sleep is going to come. And with many things, right? Many things in our lives, trying harder does bring greater results. So like if you study harder, you usually will get better grades. If you work out and practice more in sports, your performance gets better. If you really focus on your relationships and your communication skills, generally your relationships are going to improve. So with a lot of things in our life, when we try harder, we put in more effort, we get greater results, okay? But with sleep, with the insomnia, effort has the opposite effect. The harder you try to sleep, the less chance that you will. Now, why is that? When you try to sleep, first of all, it increases your mental and your physical arousal, right? Because you are putting in effort, right? When you're putting in effort in trying to do something, whether it's studying or sports or whatever it is, you get more aroused mentally and physically. And with sleep, when you're trying to sleep and you're putting in effort and then you're not able to sleep, it creates anxiety, frustration, hopelessness, which just stimulates you, and that strengthens your wakefulness system. It has the opposite effect. The other thing that happens is your conscious mind monitors. So like there's that part of our mind that we can be an observer of ourselves. And when you're trying to sleep, your conscious mind is observing whether you're falling asleep or not. It's like, okay, it knows you want to go to sleep and it's watching whether you're asleep. And as soon as you start drifting into sleep, you can get just about there, you suddenly wake up. And maybe you've had that experience. And what's going on there is you're too conscious. You're too aware of the fact that you're trying to sleep. And to fall asleep, to be able to fall asleep, your conscious mind has to be let go, right? You can't, falling asleep is about letting go. And if you're trying to sleep, you're not letting go of your conscious mind. And so that keeps you awake. And this was actually demonstrated in a study that they did on good sleepers. So these are normal, healthy sleepers who were offered a cash prize for who could fall asleep the fastest. Okay, so they took two groups. One group was told to go to sleep as normal with no cash prize, just go to sleep. And the other group was offered the cash to see who could fall asleep the fastest. And the result of this study, the group offered the cash prize took twice as long to fall asleep. Okay, these are normal, healthy sleepers. Why did it take them that long? Because they were trying to sleep. Normally, they just get into bed. They don't think about it. They just assume they're going to sleep, and they just fall asleep. When they were trying to sleep, it created all these problems up here. Wake them up, and they were too conscious of it, and therefore it took them twice as long. The other problem with putting effort into sleep is when you try to sleep, it's going to lead to all those negative sleep behaviors that we talked about that mess up your sleep, right? So they lead to this cycle. Because if you're putting in effort, you're like, I'm not sleeping well, you're worried about your sleep, then you're going to try to do all kinds of things to try to improve your sleep. You're going to go take a medication or a supplement, or you're going to change your diet, or you're going to sleep in. And again, those are the negative sleep behaviors that over time lead to poor sleep. That increases the anxiety and then just perpetuates the cycle. So putting in that effort is going to just cause more problems. So the key here is not to try to sleep, but to create the conditions, that automatically and effortlessly result in sleep. So what does that mean? So there are two conditions needed to create effortless sleep. Number one is being ready for sleep. Okay, and this means having enough what's called sleep pressure. We'll talk about that in a minute. The second is being relaxed enough for sleep. That means having an absence of stress, arousal, and stimulation. So let's first talk about being ready for sleep. So the key to being ready for sleep is to build up enough sleep pressure. What sleep pressure is an unconscious biological response that makes us want to go to sleep. So this is built into your physiology as a human being. And the way this works is the longer you're awake during the day, the more sleep pressure builds up. Okay, so if we look at this little graph here, the longer you're awake, so as we go out here, 1 hour, 4 hours awake, 9 hours, etc., what happens is inside your brain, there's a chemical, it's a neurotransmitter chemical, like a drug basically, that gets released. It's called adenosine. That the longer you're awake, the more of this drug, adenosine, gets released into your brain. And the more of that drug that gets released into your brain, the more pressure builds up in your body, in your sleep system, to make you want to sleep. Okay, so longer awake during the day, more adenosine gets released, the more sleep pressure builds and builds over the course of the day. And that's a good thing. That makes you ready for sleep. So when you have greater sleep pressure, why that is so critical is it leads to less time to fall asleep, less time to fall back asleep if you wake up, and it increases your deep sleep, which is basically increases the quality of your sleep, because there's all this pressure in your body, in your sleep system, to sleep and to sleep deeply. When you have lower sleep pressure, which is what happens with insomnia, that leads to more time to fall asleep, or not falling asleep at all. That leads to more time falling back asleep if you wake up, and it decreases your deep sleep, which means it decreases the quality of your sleep. So let's go over with insomnia what actually reduces the sleep pressure. So what reduces sleep pressure are the negative sleep behaviors that we've talked about. So let's just take an example of one negative sleep behavior, which is sleeping in. So let's say you have a normal night of sleep, which maybe you're not having right now at all, but sometimes people do with insomnia. Let's say you wake up in the morning at 6 a.m. and then you go to bed that night at 10 p.m. So your wake up time, 6 a.m., bedtime, 10 p.m. Okay, that means your total time awake is 16 hours that day. 16 hours from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Okay, that means you had 16 hours to build up that sleep pressure over the course of the day. Now, let's say the next day you decide to sleep in 2 hours. So instead of waking up at 6 a.m., you wake up at 8 a.m. But then you try to go to bed at the same time that night at 10. And what happens? You can't fall asleep. You have what's called onset insomnia, difficulty falling asleep. Now, why? Because now your time awake was reduced to 14 hours, right? Because you got up 2 hours later. You were awake less time during the day. That means less pressure built up over the course of the day, reduced sleep pressure. and that led to the insomnia of not being able to fall asleep. Okay, now this is just one night. What happens with insomnia is this happens on multiple nights, and then not only are you just engaging in one negative sleep behavior, people are practicing many other negative sleep behaviors, and all of these things are what mess up the sleep and what reduce the sleep pressure, which is why you could be exhausted but not ready for sleep, not be able to go to sleep. Okay, let's talk about the second condition that needs to be in place, being relaxed enough for sleep. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, even if you have enough sleep pressure built up and you're exhausted, if you're not relaxed and you're still stimulated and you're tense, you're not going to be able to let go enough to go to sleep. And the main cause of that is stress. So there's different kinds. So we first need to reduce the daytime stress. The stress that you experience during the day from your job, from parenting, from just dealing with life can be carried into the night. So with sleep, people mostly focus around nighttime, right? Because that's when you're sleeping, and they just focus on, maybe a nighttime routine, which is good. But if you were stressed out the whole day and you didn't do anything to manage that stress, you will carry that into night. So the daytime stress leads to the release of stress hormones like cortisol, adrenaline, norepinephrine. That's part of the stress response or the fight or flight response. And the thing is, if you don't address or reduce that stress that you experience during the day, it just gets carried over into your sleep at night. And then you could have difficulty falling or staying asleep because you haven't relieved that stress. You haven't decompressed enough. So that's number one key to, being relaxed enough for sleep. The second is reducing your nighttime stress. And so that, is doing things in the evening to make sure that you are relaxed enough for sleep, to where you're actually feeling that sleepiness and that drowsiness and connected to how tired you are, which sometimes you lose with insomnia. Many times you lose that connection to even being tired. People with insomnia might be exhausted, but they may not actually get drowsy. And so you need to be making sure at night you're relaxed and de-stressed enough to be able to go to sleep. And then the third thing is breaking that wakefulness bed association we talked to in shift number 3, which is making the bed a cue for sleep as opposed to waking you up. Okay, these are the 3 things that are going to allow you to be relaxed enough for sleep. So when these 2 conditions are in place, just these 2 conditions, which is that you're ready for sleep, you have enough sleep pressure, and you're relaxed enough for sleep, you will fall asleep within minutes, automatically, and without effort. And if you're missing one or both of these things, then you're going to have difficulty sleeping, because either you won't have enough pressure or you just won't be relaxed enough to, feel that pressure, and it'll make it really difficult to sleep. Okay, so shift number 5 is to invest in coaching. So today I've given you an overview of what's causing and maintaining your insomnia and the key steps to eliminating it. If you're here on this presentation, it means you're having serious problems with your sleep that you haven't been able to solve on your own. To eliminate insomnia, it has to be the number 1 priority in your life. This is a major life problem that won't go away on its own, and it's completely unnecessary. You can overcome insomnia, no matter how long you've struggled with it, no matter what you've tried, and you can achieve a normal, healthy pattern of sleep for the rest of your life. But you will most likely never do this on your own. In fact, it's the things you've tried to improve your sleep that have actually caused and are maintaining the insomnia still. This is what I talked about today. So you need a coach to help you through the process, because there are many details that need to be done in just the right way to achieve success. Details that we just didn't have time to cover today. Sleep affects every system in your body. So when you're not sleeping well, it impacts your life on every single level. If you don't solve this problem, the insomnia can continue for years or decades. I don't tell you this to freak you out, but this is the case, that some people end up dealing with insomnia for years or decades, and there's no reason for that. You can waste a ton of time, money, and effort on doctors, therapists, medications, supplements, sleep gadgets, and things that just simply don't work or make things worse. And it will damage your health, your productivity, your relationships, mood, your happiness, and your overall well-being in your life. And it's going to interfere with your ability to live, work, function, and reach your potential. Investing in coaching provides a lot of things. It provides a clear and simple step-by-step science-based process for success. It prevents overwhelm and confusion and lowers your anxiety, uncertainty, worry, and stress around your sleep and the insomnia, because you're not trying to do this all on your own and figuring it out all on your own, which is just really impossible for most people to do. And you learn the correct sequence and the timing for exactly how and when to apply each of the techniques. So you just follow a step-by-step process. And then expert guidance you get on how to tailor and personalize the process to you and your insomnia and your sleep system, like I was talking about in terms of your sleep structure, not just a general, generic approach. You also get the support and accountability throughout the process, which is critical for success, both to know what to do, but also, on those days or weeks when you're really struggling and you just need that moral support. So this is how it works. This is how coaching works. It starts with your mindset, your beliefs about what is possible, your beliefs around your sleep and insomnia. That's the core thing you have to start with, because that puts you into the right frame of mind to be able to overcome the insomnia and go through the process. The second is the actual method, what you actually do to get rid of the insomnia. And then the outcomes from that, which are healthy, quality sleep for life and your happiness, your well-being. So I want to ask you a couple questions. How much progress did you make last month with your sleep and your insomnia? How happy are you with your current approach? If you're not happy, you need a new mindset, a new plan, and accountability. You need a coach. And this must be a priority. As I said, you must make the commitment, which means find the best coach out there that you can find and do whatever it takes to work with them. And then you will get past this problem once and for all and be able to live a full, happy, and healthy life. So I want to talk about, finally, my client, Elena. Elena is a physician in her mid-30s with 3 young kids. And it was taking her 3 to 4 hours every night to fall asleep, averaging about 5 hours a night. So on some nights she was sleeping a little more, some nights sleeping 3 to 4 hours. And she had been taking Unisom, which is an over-the-counter sleep remedy, for the last 2 years. And she had tried things like banana tea, magnesium, the same bedtime, unwinding for 30 minutes before bed, guided meditation. None of this stuff worked. And as a result, she felt cranky, tired, not sharp, unhappy, just surviving during the day. And she had no support. I mean, when you go through insomnia, and even if you have a partner who's supportive and they've never experienced insomnia, they have no idea what you're going through. They can't relate to it. And it's hard for them to help and even empathize sometimes. And then you could feel completely alone. So then we worked together, and she got from me the support, the guidance, the step-by-step process, all the things she needed to do, plus, just the moral support to be able to get through the process and succeed. And she was able to, within 7 weeks, conquer her insomnia. She was falling asleep within 20 minutes, and she was in a good mood, more patience with her kids, and she regained her focus and sharpness at work, which is really critical. She was a physician who actually worked in a very critical position where literally her patients' life and death were in her hands. So, really, really important for her to be able to be sharp and focused and get good sleep. And after we worked together, she, just shot me an updated email. She said, "I'm doing well. I stopped keeping a sleep log, but my sleep has gotten good. I fall asleep within 20 minutes or so. And even if I wake up at night, I'm able to get back to sleep. Overall, I'm a very happy client." That's the power of working with a really good coach who can guide you through the process. So today I promised how to overcome insomnia permanently without medication, supplements, or any external remedies. How to get deep, healthy, quality sleep consistently over time, even if your sleep is currently restless, stress-filled, and unpredictable. How to fall asleep faster, sleep deeper, and wake up rested and restored no matter how long you've struggled with sleep. How to eliminate anxiety, worry, and stress about your sleep. That's those negative sleep thoughts, and build absolute confidence that you can and will sleep well each and every night. how to shift from being wired and awake in bed to being relaxed and drowsy, even if this seems impossible, how to eliminate tiredness, fatigue, exhaustion, and a foggy brain during the day, no matter how long you felt this way, how to feel like yourself again, improve your mood, and function at a higher level in your work and life, even if you believe you've lost that ability, and how to safely wean off medication and supplements and learn powerful science-based techniques that will transform your sleep. This is what you need to win. Number 1, understand the real cause. Number 2, you don't need anything external. Number 3, use the secret weapon, which is making your bed a cue for sleep. Number 4, remove effort from sleep. And number 5, invest in coaching. These 5 shifts alone are enough to eliminate your insomnia and establish healthy, quality sleep for life. Now you have a choice. You can take the information that I've given you and you can just forget all about it. You can keep struggling with your insomnia and your sleep, keep using Band-Aids like sleeping pills, supplements, gadgets, sleep hygiene, and things that just simply don't work. And you can stay stuck in that exhaustion, the frustration, anxiety, and fear for months or years, letting it destroy your health, happiness, relationships, and quality of life in the process. Or if you want to eliminate insomnia permanently in the next several weeks, be able to easily fall asleep, stay asleep, sleep deeply, and wake up rested and rejuvenated without taking any pills or supplements, and be able to maintain healthy quality sleep for life, then here's what I have for you. Just go to www.drorma.com/sleep. That's drorma.com/sleep. And you can get all the details about how I can help you overcome this problem, get my support, and be able to get past this problem. Again, just go to drorma.com/sleep. There's a lot of detail there about how I can help you solve the problem and work with you on this and take you through this process that I've described in this training, so you don't have to keep struggling to do this completely on your own, and you can get past this problem as soon as possible and get back on track with your life. I look forward to hearing from you.